Hey, Brent here from Older Home Specialists, and we're going to be installing a French drain man high octane French drain system here today. And this is going to be a side-by-side with a solid gutter and surface water system next to it. And I'm going to make this a little bit of a longer video so you can see the different steps that we do. So first of all, it's all in the prep. You got to get your prep right before you do anything. So you can see I even went to the point where I put a bevel on the side of the building here, and we tampered it down so that all that water is going to flow to the lowest point. Can't stress that enough. To do your prep correctly, it's going to make your life so much easier. Just make sure it's right, overdo it. We're going to be boring a hole down here to pass under this sidewalk down here. So you can see how we prep this. We prepped this with a bevel, so everything's coming down to this lower point. We stacked up a little bit dirt here and tampered it, and then after we're done laying our non-woven geotextile filter fabric, we're going to line this portion over here with weed barrier, and this with weed barrier. Weed barrier is not permeable, not like non-woven geotextile is permeable. So that'll mean that this is just going to roll like water off a duck's back straight down to this lowest point. And we'll be getting most of the water with the downspouts in the French drain. It'd be kind of a rare occasion that water got there. But if wind started pushing real hard in this direction with a heavy rain, we just want to make sure we cover every single base possible. Now you can see that we got this big tree right on the other side right here. It's a redwood. Those roots go out. We had a lot of roots when we were prepping this out. So we're going to be lining this with copper products here. We're going to go with copper sulfate in the bottom, nice amount of it. Then we're going to go with some copper non-woven geotextile filter fabric, and then we're going to sleeve the tile with the copper netting as well. We're going to do everything we can to keep these roots out of this system. The thing about our systems is the non-woven goes straight on the ground, then the tile goes straight on top of that. And by doing that, you're avoiding, when you install PVC, the holes are on the bottom only. And so what happens is you have to have a bed of gravel in order to get the water to come up and have space the way that it's supposed to. And so by us doing this, by using the high octane tile that we have, it has holes all the way around. So we don't need to have that bed of gravel underneath there. And one thing about that bed of gravel, it never really dries out well. It always kind of holds the moisture down in there, especially when it's been used, when there's been water going down the French drain. And so that's going to promote roots to grow right in the area. And so that's going to be the death of it. See, we're thinking about every single thing. When we're designing a system, we want that system to last for the rest of whoever's life that has this system. And by doing that, not only are we doing the best job that we can, but we're giving them the best value for their money. Nobody wants to do a job like this twice. We're going to set it all up with cleanouts. We're going to have everything that we need in order to make this correct. And so the system can be serviced and that it's set up from the get-go the best that it can be. So you can see we're getting all our materials lined up here with our cleanout tops with the restrictor plates, getting all our catch basins prepped, drilled out on the bottom. When you drill them with a small hole, you don't need a great big hole in there. You don't want it to be leaking out a bunch of water while it's working. You want just enough so that it'll weep out when it's all done raining. So here we have our 4-inch high octane, 4-inch royal blue, virgin high density polyethylene, and we're set up here with our non-woven. All right, so we're starting with our copper sulfate for the ground. These are the blue crystals that you can buy in bulk. Put this in the ground and it'll keep the roots from wanting to grow in. So we're going to use copper sulfate, then we're going to use our copper woven geotextile filter fabric, and then we're going to sleeve the drainage tile with copper netting as well. All right, so you can see we just measured where we wanted our leaf filter to be above ground, and then we went ahead and made a cut with a Sawzall. Use a fine-tooth Sawzall blade when you're doing that. Use the right blade when you're doing different jobs, and for cutting metal like this, use the fine blade. It's going to make it so much easier on you. when you're running these down, you don't want to run them too far down all the way into the filter, break the plastic, but you want it on there pretty good. So go ahead and stick it up there about 2-3 inches so it's really getting the water in there. So now we got a couple extra strips that Mario's cutting here. We had a little bit extra. We're just using this to line the sides. We're not going to use it for the top. I'm going to come and line the whole thing again with 4 ounce. So this is basically just a sheath in the ground just to protect it from the roots from the tree. We got a big tree right here. So then he's cutting these strips right here. And then when he's done, he's going to take these extra strips and just pound them on the side like that. So now we've got a little extra protection there as well. So now you can see how light and easy these things are to use compared to a great big jackhammer. Pop it off right there. All right, so now we're going to line the entire trench with 4 ounce double punch non-woven geotextile filter fabric. See, we're all prepped out here for our clean outs. Got our filters pinned on the wall there. We're going to finish this with some more copper sulfate. So like I said, this copper is just lining the sides, and then we're going to run 4 ounce all the way down, because when we're done, we're going to staple the whole thing up into a pouch. And I went ahead and put another layer of the copper sulfate crystals right on top of the copper non-woven. All right, so now we're getting our 4 ounce double punched non-woven 6 foot wide geotextile filter fabric. I use the 6 feet wide. I'd rather have strips that I can cut off, and I can always use those for catch basin dry wells or clean out dry wells, or the strips are always good, so don't throw them out. All right, so we got our extension on our earth auger there. Those Makita earth augers, man, they work good, the 40 volt ones. Makita, it ain't cheap, but it's for a reason, because it's good. When you're getting your non-woven in, I always try and make it as flat as possible so it's not overlapping, because it's double punched. And if you overlap it, the holes aren't going to line up and it's not going to flow the way that we intended it to. So in a perfect world, don't put it in all crinkled up with wrinkles and everything. Put it in nice and flat and straight. All right, so we're putting our mains down first. There goes the second main going in on the bottom. All right, so now we have our clean outs in place. You can see on the mains on the bottom. And then on this top one, I'm gonna run our new 3.5 inch. So we're gonna have 4 inch on the bottom, and then a perforated 3.5 on the top, and then a solid 3.5, connecting one downspout. And then as soon as I get to the second downspout, I'm gonna upsize it to 4 inch from there. All right, so we're taking lunch now. My wife gets up every morning and make me a lunch. She gets up extra early to do it. She always sends it with plenty of snacks and a Bible verse on there too. Got a clean out for the leaf filter right there. Everything's running down here, copper. So we ran 4 inch on the bottom, 4 inch mains, and then we ran 3.5 inch on the top because it made more room. So that's what's good about that 3.5 inch pipe, is you can use it at different points for different things. And it's good because it has more volume and more velocity as well. So each job is different. When you're looking at each job, sometimes your plan might even change part way and you see that there's a better way to do something and then you change it. But that's the reason why we got all these different parts that we can use. You can see when we wrap up our fittings, super tight and clean. That's exactly how you want them. Not all wrinkly, not all messed up. I mean, it's not the world if it wrinkles a little bit, but if you can stretch it and get it on there super tight and clean like that, that's money right there. So we have another clean out right here for the downspout. You can see this is going to be a solid clean out. Then we're running down here, and then what we're going to do is tie into a couple double catch basins right here. All right, so we got our catch basins. We got our clean outs right here. We got a clean out for the leaf filter right there. Everything's running down here, copper. So we ran 4-inch on the bottom, 4-inch mains, and then we ran 3.5-inch on the top because it made more room. So that's what's good about that 3.5-inch pipe is you can use it at different points for different things, and it's good because it has more volume and more velocity as well. So each job is different. When you're looking at each job, sometimes your plan might even change part way and you see that there's a better way to do something and then you change it. But that's the reason why we got all these different parts that we can use. You can see when we wrap up our fittings, super tight and clean. That's exactly how you want them. Not all wrinkly, not all messed up. I mean, it's not the world if it wrinkles a little bit, but if you can stretch it and get it on there super tight and clean like that, that's money right there. So we have another clean out right here for the downspout. You can see this is going to be a solid clean out. We got everything coming down here. We got our mains on the bottom. I got a 3.5-inch on the top, and then I have the solid line coming into the top. And then we're tying into a couple double catch basins right here, all set in there. So all 4 of them are tying in, and then we got 2 plugs in the top, and the 2 bottom mains are coming out. Then we have them tied together there into our Y, and then it's tied into a piece of N12 dual wall running underneath this concrete right here. This isn't really a driveway, obviously, so you probably could have got away with sliding the pipe, but I like it because it's more rigid and it's going to keep the line nice and straight going through there. So that's what we got going on here. Clean outs at the beginning. We got a clean out for each leaf filter as well to catch all the shingle gravel and all that stuff. It's really loud out here. So we're coming through with the N12 right here. We're going to do a leaf filter right here, tie in with our Y, another clean out. And then we're going to run right down here to the end of the trench. We got a lot of good slope at the end. And then this is where we're going to do our pop-up emitter. We set those in non-woven geotextile filter fabric. Just put a little hole in the bottom of it so it can bleed out. In the spring and the summer is always nice. Not too many holes though. You don't want it leaking out a bunch while it's working. Same thing with my catch basins. Depending on where I'm putting those catch basins, I might do a little micro hole, because if it's an area that was already a problem, I don't want more water getting up under the house. So sometimes I'll just go with 3 or 4 micro holes, 1/8 inch, just enough to empty it when the time comes. So this is our progress right here. Next up, we're going to get some rock in the trench, and then we're going to stitch it. And then right here, we're going to fill this all with dirt at the end. So our pouch is going to end right there with the non-woven. And then we're going to fill this with dirt. We're going to bevel it. And then I'm going to have Mario put a little bit of concrete slope this way too. And then it's going to catch this old drain right here. See, this wasn't far enough in the ground for what I wanted to do, but it's still a good relief point, and it still comes through here with a little bit of a concrete channel. You see that? So I didn't want to ditch that. So I'm going to keep that in place, and then just have the surface water that happens to come right here just go straight to there. So that's where we're at so far. This is a good look at one of our Miller catch basins, wheelbarrows that we use. And then we'll just drill it with one of those tapered step bits, a metal tapered step bit, and just drill it out, put some oil on it, drill it out, and then all your little chips and all your little stuff will come right out of there. All right, so we got a finished product here, somewhat finished anyways. We've got our clean outs for the mains. Everything's set in right here. Filter stitched up here. Looking pretty good team that we got here. Leaf filter, clean out, And we have our clean outs at the end with our double catch basins right here, tied in on the bottom like you saw. So now we have this all in place, looking good. We're still going to get some non-woven under that, put everything back together.